So we had a very good product demonstration, and now we have a very interesting session. The session which is about how do you decode the consumer in new normal. As you know, all of us have been working in a different way, doing all our regular habits in a different way because of this pandemic. And today, for this session, we have some very eminent panelists covering all aspects of our daily life. So whether it is travel, whether it is fashion, whether it is lifestyle, all of these. So I request Shubhajit to take it up from here, and then he can introduce you to the other panelists, or the other panelists can introduce themselves. Over to you, Shubhajit.
Thanks, Bhavesh. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this last session of ICS 2020. I'm sure doing this virtually is a very different experience, and with the panel that I have, I'm sure that the last session would also be rocking. So I'll try and ensure that there is enough ideas that are stimulated, and you don't leave the event until it's over. Very brief introduction of myself. I'm Shubhajit. I'm a director with Microsoft, looking after strategic growth for the India subsidiary. I have a very eminent panel here. Ritesh is a vice president engineering at Redbus. Ritesh, if you could just wave your hand so that people know. And Ritesh has had long stints with Make My Trip, Go and the likes. So he's a veteran on travel and e-commerce, and loves building products. We have Manoj from House of Anita Dongri. He's the CIO. He believes blending the best of technology and business, and kind of is passionate about how he caters to his consumers in these times. We have Swapnil. He's the Chief Business Officer at Intercity Rail Yatri. He looks at growth, he looks at new business models, and he's essentially driving the whole business currently. And we have Kunal Mehta, a seasoned retail tech professional, uh, mentor to multiple startups, expert in lifestyle and fashion retailing. Welcome, everybody. Just a quick ice-breaking session before we get on to questions. So I want one word from each of you, which reflects how you understand consumer sentiment in the new normal. One word to which reflects consumer sentiment in the new normal. Maybe you can go in the same order.
Okay, I'll go first. Consumer sentiment, safety.
Hygienic.
Swapnil, you're on mute.
Yeah, realized. A lot of fear.
Kunal, you're on mute.
Kunal mute.
Skeptical.
Okay, so that kind of sets the tone of decoding the consumer, with safety to hygiene to skeptical to fear, so a spectrum, but all on one side, not on the other side. So, okay. Ritesh, I'm coming to you first. Uh, Travel industry is, badly hit because of the COVID situation, and obviously consumer preferences have, I mean, forget the modality of transport and the way you travel and the experience and all that. The choice between travel and not traveling is very clear to most consumers right now. So in that situation, how have you seen preferences changing? And if you've seen actually consumers wanting to travel because of urgency, how have the preferences really changed? What are the instances that you can share with our audience?
Right. So the preferences, typically in terms of, let's say, the travel world, and specifically in terms of the audience segment that we are catering to at Redbus, right? So predominantly the preference was always with respect to pricing, right? And then subsequently with respect to, say, the other aspects of travel as such as convenience and all. Having said that, in the pandemic, and then while going through the pandemic, is one, right, a lot of the consumer's preference has shifted towards safety, And with respect to that, and that's why basically we actually had to kind of on the hop kind of build various what you call product interventions or mechanisms of basically kind of marrying the supply related changes to the and bring it forward to the consumer demand. One specific example can actually be with respect to the social distancing seat in buses, right? So typically, because of course social distancing is a paradigm being mooted. So of course, when you're actually traveling in a bus which actually has two seats, so when you book a seat, then the corresponding next seat is supposed to be actually be kept empty, right? So we had to actually work with our bus operators to kind of make them understand. And when they have actually been made to understand, we had to build the rails to kind of have this built up. So for example, you actually book on the aisle, seat on the aisle, then correspondingly automatically in the CRS, in the centralized reservation system, the automatically the second seat also gets booked, right? Or basically gets blocked, so it cannot actually be booked by someone else. So these were some of the what do you call the implementations on the consumer side as one example. A second example can actually be on the completely on, let's say, the supplier side of things. So where we actually work with our bus partners, because safety again is a paramount. So we work with our bus partners to kind of bring in a safety plus kind of what do you call a program where kind of trying to standardize the promises of safety, such as, say, for example, the bus personnel would actually wear masks. There would be sanitizers which are actually given, no blankets to actually be will be provided, and so on and so forth, right? So a couple of examples would actually be that where we actually had to hit the ground running in terms of kind of making changes and tweaks into the whole product to make it more convenient both for both sides of the network. Both we actually catered, because we're like a marketplace and catering to both the consumer side and also as well the supplier side, right? So basically getting them together to kind of bring them together. So that probably could be a couple of examples of the cuff as such.
Sure. Thanks, Ritesh. Those are interesting examples and stories. Taking that segue, I'll come to Swapnil. And Swapnil, maybe I'll jump to the, how did you design this physical ecosystem? Essentially, that's probably the question that I'm going to ask with a little bit of tweak. So it's easy to design the systems and the processes and the SOPs and train people to do things. But when the consumers come in, they disrupt everything, because in a country like ours, the kind of customer segments who would travel in the bus, how easy is it or how difficult is it to maintain the discipline? Because finally everything either succeeds or fails on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So in fact, carrying on with what Ritesh mentioned about safety and blankets not being there as one part of it, because they can essentially carry the infection. And when you mentioned that, how do consumers react? So most of the feedbacks that we get nowadays is, why you're not giving blanket? And that's where the entire challenge, as you rightly said, comes when you start to implement it on the ground. So coming back to your fundamental question around how easy or difficult it is to build in the physical ecosystem, and how did we react to it? So should we look at it like this, that when we launched Intercity Smart Bus, it was launched with the fundamental narrative that the essential problems on the grounds related to intercity mobility and largely on the bus side has to be solved on the ground. Somebody has to come in and put in place all the qualitative aspects related to bus travel, and bus travel becomes the fundamental default instead of being a second preferred or a third preferred option. And suddenly we realize that post-pandemic, appreciation for somebody like us is far more compared to what it used to be in the pre-COVID era. And when we went about implementing it, so for example, essentially, if you look at where the fear of the consumer is and what is the solution that you create, it was one, around social distancing, two, around hygiene, and the three, which is about that all the promises which are being made or being conveyed pre-booking, will they be essentially implemented on the ground? And that's where the challenge comes for people like us on the other side, where we need to monitor. So essentially what we did is that, one, of course, SOPs, etc., they had to be done. That's how you would start. But what we started building is a technology stack which will monitor this SOP. So for example, something as simple as, is there a thermal scanning done for Shubhajit who is boarding, for example, a bus from Hyderabad to Bangalore? So we had to build a technology stack which is keeping a track on that also. So what we built is a crew app functionality where a crew is carrying an app, and that app essentially records everything, and that gets relayed real time, and our control center is able to monitor and implement it. So that's one side of the story. The second side, which you very rightly said is very important and it becomes very difficult a lot of times, is how do you let the consumer understand what is being done? One, to allay the fear. Two is also to let them understand that why is it so important. That's where we started huge communication drive. Anybody wanting to book, pre-booking, post-booking, our communication started becoming very strong, and essentially we built it largely around WhatsApp and in-app notification. That why should you carry this? Why should you not carry this? Why are we not providing blanket? Why are there no curtains on the bus? There is a larger intent, and it is for your safety. So I think simple answer before I pass it back to you. One, we did not create SOPs only. We created the entire tech stack around it so that it can be monitored from the control center. Two is on the communication side, we went over aggressive, telling people that why is it being done? Why is it so important for you? And why you can allay all your fears and come and board the bus.
Great, Swapnil. I think these are great examples for our audience. So before I switch to the fashion side of things, maybe the question is open to both of you. Uh, so any instances where you really had to deal with a very difficult situation wherein, and how agile was your reaction to that or response to that, wherein, let's say because of an exception, a customer is not allowed to board a bus, right? And the customer obviously will be very, very perturbed because, he's paid for the seat, he has a plan and he wants to go. But but here it's not just about that one customer, it's about the other 50, 60 customers in the bus, who are going to travel because you're risking them. Any one story between you, both of you, wherein you handled a difficult situation and you were able to manage it?
Yeah, sure. So Ritesh, shall I? Yeah. The most common incident where we had to do this expectation management a lot is around the thermal scanning. Most of the other things are relatively easy to sort of communicate. So around the thermal scanning, when somebody is on the wrong side of it, and there is a debate that no, wrong side is only as much, and that's when you had to sort of put that WHO thing on the face in a nice manner to let them understand that why it is important. So what we did is we did it in two ways. One, of course, is the fact that I am disappointed today because you're not letting me travel. So what we did is that one, we made a very simple policy that fair enough, you are unfortunate that you are running high temperature, but there is no financial penalty at all. I'm refunding this money entirely back to you. And I'm promising the travel the moment you feel that your temperature is normal to come and tell us, and immediately your seat will be booked. So you're not losing anything at all. We are trying to make it as simple for you. And two is, of course, we had to train our people that be nice, be soft, be gentle when you're doing it. It's not an alcoholic who is trying to board the bus and you can be whatever, it can be. It's an unfortunate thing for that individual also. So fundamentally, one, there have been at least 7 to 8 incidents where people did argue. And then, of course, even seniors like us, we had to intervene and talk to that customer and make them realize. So that's what we did.
Excellent. I think the takeaway for me and for the audience is the ease of resolution. If you can design it, almost embed it in the process, then probably consumers feel better. And by the way, this is not applicable only for travel because it's almost like customers entering retail stores. And for the larger part of retail, this all these stories and experiences hold true. Now I'll come onto the fashion side and the lifestyle side, and like travel, I think occasions, weddings have started coming down, or they're being postponed. So I'll come to Manoj first, and the brand that you represent is high end fashion, uh, specific occasional wear. A lot of times. How have you seen customer demand changing? How have you responded to it?
Thank you, Subhajan. Yes, we had faced a lot of issue because it was particular season time also. If you see from the March, if you see it was a wedding season, and in the wedding season, this is the only one particular occasion, when the female gets completely dressed up. This is only one occasion when it's most awaited for for makeups and for the dress, and which they like, they buy the dress which they want. And in our case, it was like, customer who comes in our store, it they take a long time in terms of it selecting the design, what embroidery they want, what is the style they want. So there is a dedicated stylist who sits with that customer. They guide them, they show the catalogs. And so due to this pandemic, this everything became in a pause situation. So what we had to do was, we had to use the social media, where we made our staff wear some bridal collection. We removed small videos which tried to showcase them, how the look and feel you will get after wearing this particular product, different designs, so that the customer feel, okay, this will look the way it is as a physical, and they portray themselves, okay, I will look the same way it is. Then secondly, what we did, like we already had a website, we had a e-com website already. So what we did, we added another option in the software was customer booking. So what we tried to do was, like, we allowed customer to book the time slot when they want to visit the store, and we give that confidence, that when you're visiting the store, the crowd will not be there in the store. You will be associated with directly one stylist, and whatever all the proper hygienics and sanitizer, whatever the precautions will be there, will be taken, and we will take the safeguard of yourself. So those kind of assurance we gave, those type of confidence we created in the customer, and that customer started, booking and started visiting to our stores, and that's what slowly, gradually we have started, getting into that bridal collection, which is on the niche side, on the higher side of it.
And Manoj, just before I move to Kunal, maybe one quick question. So between men's and women's, how do you see the?
No, we are into total, yeah, in the bridal. In men's, again, it's the same thing. Short video showed them how it is. And the catalog is there on the website. They can have a look at the catalog. And if they ask, we sent a small video to them to give the confidence to them. This is the way you will look. But at the end of the day, it's a customer. Till the time you don't create that confidence in the customer, that he feel, okay, this is the right thing. This is what I want, and this is the feel I should get. The conversion becomes a bit tough in this.
Still higher for women compared to men in this period, or is it?
Yeah, it's a higher to the female than the men because of the lot of embroidery work gets. This embroidery is not machine made. This is a handmade embroidery, which is handmade done on the chania cholis and all this stuff.
Kunal, I'll come to you, and the first question will be around the consumer demand and perception. I came across a very interesting term which I'll use for you, because Raymond's is about a lot about formal dressing, and this term was above the keyboard dressing, essentially. So that's what's come up now, So
yeah.
Wearing shorts, but you need to look good up to what. How has it been for the brand, or in general, for apparel, formal apparel particularly?
Are we all keyboard right now?
So, it's actually been quite tough, honestly, and quite challenging because, I mean, there are two markets that we cater to at Raymond. There's one market which is purely formal, which is, our textiles, suitings and the shirtings business, which is there, which is highly dependent on the wedding season, on, on people like you who are, continuously on the move, client meetings and things like that. And that's the big market that we cater to. On the other side, we also have multiple brands like Park Avenue, Parks, Color Plus, Raymond Ready to Wear, and those kind of brands, which are more of informal clothing, formal clothing. It's a mix over there. So it's been a tough times for us, for the business in general, because for 3-4 months, obviously everything was completely shut. Nobody was really moving out, and hence there was no buying happening. Again, if you look at the market, May, June, July was typically a wedding season, right? And again, there were no weddings happening in the country. So you kind of lost an entire market at that point of time of buying things, of customers coming to your stores, etc. So the wedding season was gone, and now again, if you look at it, the weddings are not that extravagant anymore. So you probably have a gathering of 100 people coming in and buying things out. So obviously, it's going to be a tough time to kind of get the customers back into the game, go and splurge money on what they need to buy. And a lot of buying also happens out of purely out of just visiting malls and high street outlets. None of that is happening at this point of time. People are not able to touch and feel the cloth or the apparel that they're buying. So that makes it that much difficult. But during this period, the good part which came in is a lot of technology that we were initially talking to the business, like 3D printing or 3D draping of the materials on the customer, which were considered to be technologies which were far-fetched or luxury, where probably the customer wouldn't be interested. All of a sudden, the business was asking for these technologies because, again, when the touch and feel is not happening, the customer still wants to drape himself in a fabric and see how he feels. So we did so certain things in the overall technology roadmap got a little ahead. We got fundings for the things we thought we never will in certain places, and that helped a lot. We were also able to go and implement technologies like DIY, which is design it yourself. So in a lot of our Park Avenue stores, similar to what we do in our made-to-measure stores, right? The customer can walk into the store. There's an iPad that they have. They can select their own cuff, collar, the material that they want, what kind of a jacket do they want, what kind of a trouser do they want, and select all of that, place the order, and walk out of the store without even touching anything. It's there's a certain amount of customer experience that you need to bring in now with technology, and at the same time ensure that the customer doesn't miss out on what he's buying. So he doesn't have to be cheated in that way either. Also, there's a lot of online sales which have increased. So e-commerce was never a big business for us because we always wanted our customers to walk into our stores. But now all of a sudden, our online sales increased, and there was a lot of focus on e-commerce. A lot of focus increased on our online tailoring business also, where customers were ready to book, materials online, give their measurements online, and get clothes stitched. So the customers have also evolved along with us in the last 5-6 months, and so have we, without really impacting big time on the customer experience.
Great. So maybe one common question to both Kunal and Manoj, and anybody can take that. So because there is a certain set of preferences that are coming from the consumer side, is there any impact on the lines that you typically create for the season? How do you maintain the freshness? Because for both of the businesses, it's about ensuring fresh designs hit the store multiple times in the season, right? Is there any impact on that? Because you're going to hold, otherwise you're going to hold a lot of inventory, which is not going to go out easily, which is for the business. So any tweaks there?
Sure. So it's a very, very valid question, and that's been one of the biggest concerns, not just for Manoj and me, but in general for the overall fashion industry, right? Because you're sitting on a huge pile of inventory on one side, and at the same time, with new seasons coming in, you still want to be relevant for the consumer. We've spent a lot of times, a lot of time in the last 5-6 months understanding the customer buying preferences in certain markets, and understanding what kind of clothes work where, right? Again, with the wedding season coming in, we're more focused in terms of what kind of clothes will the customer, how much money is the customer ready to invest now going forward also. So keeping the budgets in mind, keeping the kind of clothing lines we have, we've come back with a new season saying, this is what the customer can afford. At the same time, keep the fashion quotient high, because that's what's expected out of a Raymond store. By the consumer. If it's wedding, he still expect, or a Diwali coming in, or a Durga Puja coming in, he still expects himself to look fashionable with the latest line. So it's a mix of both of them. It's a tough one, honestly, and we'll have to see how that pans out over the next 1 quarter. But I think we've been doing a lot of social media events also around Facebook and Insta and Twitter, where you're putting out the new lines, you're taking feedback from your regular customers, in certain areas and segments where that festival is coming in. For example, Durga Puja will be big in Kolkata. So you kind of, target that segment and take feedback from them, and then push those lines more over there compared to how Diwali would be in Mumbai or in South India. So we've been using a lot of social media also, and a lot of past data analytics, doing a bit of predictive analytics over there, and figuring it out. Hopefully that works for us.
Great. Thank you. I'll come back to Ritesh. Ritesh, you've worked across multiple travel platforms, OTA platforms, and most of these have very rich customer programs. So whether it's in the form of a loyalty program, or whether it's in the form of some benefits program, a lot of those brands that you've worked with have actually curated customers over time. Now, in this time of crisis, do you see that such programs, and it could be your current brand or it could be your general perception of how it's working in the industry, do you see that these programs really deliver value to the retailer in such difficult times?
Not if these programs are actually kind of being continued in the pre-pandemic world. So, for example, if these programs were actually tailored for people and with respect to how they would actually want to travel and how they would want to kind of consume our products in the pre-pandemic world, so those wouldn't probably actually work. Let's say, for example, Make My Trip had a very great program of basically actually having free cancellation, right? So basically, there was a product called Make My Trip Black, of course, where you can register onto it, and there are a specific set of transactions on which you can actually avail free cancellation through a year. I mean, in the current scheme of things, it does not actually work for the organizations itself to run such kind of programs at all, right? So, of course, loyalty programs actually have changed in terms of basically working together along with suppliers. So, for example, what Make My Trip and GoIBO both have been able to do is that, let's say in the case of accommodations, or in the case of these high 5-star properties and so on, is that you can actually book a property now, or a booking now. So you don't necessarily actually have to publish your date of travel, right? You book now at a reasonable price and a good price as such, which in that sense kind of gives working capital to the supplier. And then you are free to choose your stay date, and that can actually be, say, up to like 6 to 8 months down the line, right? So you can actually choose whatever date you want to actually choose stay. So it is an evolving of these loyalty programs where you try to kind of help both sides of the network, right? So you're basically kind of trying to give some working capital to the supplier as well. And in the same way, because by having a good pricing, bringing a good kind of a pricing, you're trying to kind of create some value to the consumer side as well. So yes, so loyalty programs do still actually have value, but given that they are actually tailored to the newer nuances of the newer paradigm, you can say.
Okay, Okay, so I'll open up this question for everybody, Swapnil, Kunal, and Manoj, and particularly for apparel, fashion. See, the purchase is more involved, right? Now, having a program, and if you've invested as a brand, you've invested in such a program, and you've put tons of money, you've built liability on your books for offering benefits. The whole idea is that you should have a greater amount of pulse of the customer through this program. So you should be able to actually decode the customer better. So is that really happening, or do you think that customer programs need to be rethought completely from the paradigm that we were working in earlier?
So,
No,
sorry,
please,
go ahead.
please. No, please go ahead.
Okay, so that I think organizations and retailers have also realized that the definition of loyalty has changed over the last couple of years, right? And purely giving points is not something what the customer is really looking at anymore. He or she is looking at much more than that. I think more than the points, what the customer is really looking out is for customer experience. Are you providing them anything additional to just getting those points and coming into your store? So, for us, we have a customer base of nearly 6 million customers. And this includes all our franchisee stores also across different brands. So that gives you a huge insight in terms of what the customer is buying, in a Raymond shop across multiple brands, and it's a big mix. So understanding that customer pulse was very, very important. We used, in fact, this entire period of the pandemic to understand a customer better, have more direct positioning of what kind of lines or what kind of clothes they want to wear. There was a lot of communication which went out to customer in terms of their likings, right? And take specific feedbacks from them. So there was a customer engagement process has also changed drastically over the last 3-4 months. And in fact, we started doing that a year back. Nothing to do just with the pandemic, but in general, in terms of improving the season cycles that we have. But this obviously pushed the envelope for us to understand our customers better and start having a more targeted selling happening to them.
Right.
Shobhit, let me add on to it. So I think what Kunal mentioned is absolutely true, and this is actually fairly generic in my opinion. I think the conventional wisdoms of loyalty are coming back again. These, in some sense, slightly cosmetic envelopes which were created around loyalty are no longer holding true. So the conventional wisdom says that, listen, if your product is great, if you're ensuring great experience for the customer, you are living up to the promise conveyed during the pre-purchase experience, then the customer will come back, right? And that's the greatest measure. So today, whether you are being able to allay the fear of the customer in terms of safety, social distancing, hygiene, are the biggest factors. And if the customer chooses to come back, because we are entering roughly the second month of revival in north of India, at least from the intercity mobility perspective. And given a very basic repeatability factor, there is a certain segment which is supposed to travel again. So what we have been measuring is post-pandemic, how many customers are taking these second trips on our buses. And that's the largest statement, and a lot more investment should go in that direction rather than very basic cliched customer loyalty programs per se. So that's the fundamental principle on which we have been building this.
Also, if I could just add on to Swapnil, the other important point is, the whole thing around safety and, the trust that the brand carries. And if the customer is aware of what kind of a brand they are dealing with, it becomes that much easier for you to interact with that customer and, go out and say, what they want to buy or what do they really need, even if it means them physically coming to the store. That trust factor also adds up in today in terms of, is the store going to be having its hygiene measures and things around that.
No, absolutely.
I think if I sum up, loyalty programs or customer programs, generically speaking, I'm not talking about loyalty, but from the transactional points, earning, burning, it had moved
Yeah,
to experience programs, and experience
absolutely.
was being delivered in theaters that you created. Theaters were your retail stores. Theaters were your place of business, right? Which was your buses, your vehicle, right? Fleet and crew. But given that this is diminishing a bit, because people are not visiting so often, I think it is moving from the paradigm of experience to care. So if the program cares for you, I think you're going to have a very, very loyal customer over a period of
Yeah.
given. Uh, I'll just now come back to again the travel segment, and I mean, Swapnil shared a few examples of how you're communicating with customers at this point in time, and what are the channels that are really working for you. So both Ritesh and Swapnil, if you could just uh, help us understand, how do you really keep that customer connect in these difficult times? What is the best modality of reaching out to them without being, without over communicating sometimes, but keeping that fine balance, but ensuring that you are there for the customer at this time?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll probably kind of Swapnil, if I may.
Yeah,
I'll
please, Ritesh.
Yeah, I'll give a small example. See, one of the ways is that a brief thing which actually comes off the cuff is that not all of the routes are actually open, right? Let's say 3 to 4 months ago, a lot of states were not open to basically have interstate travel being open. Having said that, not all customers or consumers were actually knowledgeable about that, and they were not too sure about when it is actually going to open. People would want to actually go back home, or probably would want to come back home from come back to their workplace from their hometown, and so on and so forth. One of the ways was that we actually kind of created a very small flow wherein people could actually register for route opening. So basically, the idea was that you just pre-register to be notified as to when a specific route would actually open up, and then subsequently when the route would actually open up, when we actually would have inventory in that route, is when we would actually communicate back. So rather than basically blasting out to the whole ecosystem saying that, hey, now the routes between Bangalore to Hyderabad are open, right? So you would actually kind of target only, or kind of keep that communication to only those customers who are actually have expressed their interest. So one example could actually be that, because rather than basically probably broadcasting all of the route openings to all the users, because of course it's because of privacy issues, we don't necessarily actually kind of although while we can actually probably guesstimate the source city of a user, we don't necessarily keep a a fixed this thing of basically that, okay, Shubhajit is actually based out of, say, Kolkata or Bangalore as such, right? So although we could guesstimate that, but we don't necessarily keep a thing on that. So rather than basically run it on that guesstimated one, the way for us was to slightly kind of do a targeted one, in that sense of basically having people pre-register and then subsequently communicate it across to them. Probably one such example as to how kind of keep the communication targeted.
Yeah. No, I think that was very interesting as well, because we on the other end of the spectrum could see that a lot of people were actually doing it. So Shubhajit, for us, communication during these times had two aspects. One was digital, and second was, of course, on the physical space. When somebody ends up coming to our smart bus lounge or the bus, how would the communication happen? So on the digital side, besides, of course, a lot of other things that we did, what we started doing a lot was every process which has been designed to either ensure a social distancing or a hygiene or sanitization, we started creating snippets, videos of those. And the moment somebody is either going through a pre-booking flow or post-booking experience, we started talking a lot more with video, even on our social handles. We spoke a lot more with video rather than trying to say what we are doing in terms of safety, which was obviously done. So I think videos, especially the short videos and snippets, helped a lot in terms of that communication. When it came to the physical world, on one hand, we were telling consumers that, listen, reduce your physical touch or need for physical touch. Hence, there is an app where you can go and do a self-help. So don't start rushing to a bus helper or a bus driver. You have a self-help platform. Go there, put in your request. Say, for example, you want to set up a wake-up alarm. Put up the wake-up alarm, and automatically you will be alarmed by the captain when the time has reached. On the other hand, we told captain also that, listen, you need to be a lot more proactive in terms of being able to tell the traveler who has boarded the bus that, listen, I am available. Anything that you need, say, for example, there is a rest stop. You do not want to get down because you have concerns around hygiene levels at the rest stop. If you want me to go there, reassure, then come back and tell you, I'm available for that. So use me as a medium to ensure that. And that's also another layer of communication that we went little overboard upon, rather, I would say. So this is where communication came for us.
Excellent, excellent. I think very powerful stories, and I think these stories cut across very different segments of travel and fashion. So I'll come to Manoj, and he actually, where Swapnil left was actually about the human touch. You know, the captain taking proactive role in educating essentially the consumers and to be able to ensure that the experience is great. Now, in your kind of brand and your positioning, you know, I think there was a lot of involvement that was there, you know, between stylists, you know, the staff that was catering to consumers who popped into the stores, and uh, it was not a transactional purchase at all, right? So, given these days, how have you innovated? Are there any key innovations that you've done in these last 6 months that have really worked for you or your kind of category?
Uh, to be very frank, we used whatever the tools which we had. We were using that, but now we started using it more proactively. Like recently we saw there were a lot of followers which came in the Instagram, Facebook, where we used to post small stories in, you know, in design, in fashion, the new collection, the freshness of the garment, or the hygienic. We used to use short story of the store, you know, how the store looks, how the safety measures have been taken, how sanitizers and all the whatever the WHO rules and regulations which are how we are maintaining to give the confidence to the customer. Another thing aspect what we saw, there was lot of traffic which came on our website. So that previously it was there, but now it has got increased more. Like previously, whatever the money which we used to invest in terms of which location to store open, or we have to take the marketing activities, you know, to bring the people to know that, you know, the store is available, the new store. Now, due to this digitalization and this pandemic, you know, the social media has helped us a lot. In WhatsApp, we did D2C, direct to customer. As you rightly said, we had old data of the customer. Now, like Swapnil and Kunal said, it's absolutely right. Now, people are not concerned of earn and burn. They are mostly concerned of what of the service you are giving. They trust the brand building you are giving, you know, the trust, the confidence which you are giving to customer, the quality of the product which you are giving to customer. And that basically has helped us a lot. We have seen on the website, people are spending more time in browsing, going one category to another category, looking at a different style, color. And we have also seen the conversion going high in that particular segment. That's what, you know, the as I mentioned in the WhatsApp, we started D2C, direct to customer. So we had this list of customers, we know their profile. So we used to send them the photographs, the images. And in response, the customer used to say, yes, I'm interested on this. Then we used to just send it the payment link. And the next day, the product used to get couriered to his house. So that's the way, you know, this social media thing helped us in increasing our sale and boosting and creating confidence in the customer, like what they are thinking, what they're looking at a video, what they are, and the same thing there, it's getting delivered to them. That's what it's about.
Getting to Manoj and Kunal, a lot of other retailers who I know are and in similar segments where there's a lot of purchase involvement. Video streaming of the retail stores has become a rage. Yeah. Whereas if you know the store staff and you have a relationship with that store staff, he or she is actually quite happy to select merchandise for the customer and then actually do a very intricate video journey which almost replicates the touch and feel, although you can't really feel it, but you almost get that feel that, yeah, I'm able to see every facet of the merchandise that I'm going to buy. Any of that has worked for your brands?
Subhajit, funny that you asked. For us, I mean, a typical male buyer, ends up going to the same store for his purchases again and again, rather than being too choicey about going to 10 different places and buying things, right? So most of the time, if I go to a Viviana Mall, for example, I go to that particular store and I buy it. And the store staff, the store manager so well. He knows your preferences, right? During this period, actually, even while we were engaging a lot with the customers, there was a lot of direct engagement between the customer and the store manager and the store staff, surprisingly, and we realized during this period that they actually had each other's numbers, and they were passing on messages that, so, oh sir, this is a new product which has come in, or this product is available in this size which you wanted probably a month back and we didn't have. Do you want to make a purchase? One, you already know the fit, you already tried it out, so that's not an issue. And there's a certain amount of trust, just not with the brand, but also with the store manager, that I'm going to get the right set of product coming out from him, and these are these 5 recommendations that he's putting up, and I think it's going to work for me. So the stylist, the store manager, the customer, they've all kind of engraved with each other into the ecosystem, and that worked wonders, because all of a sudden you see the sales going high because of this engagement happening, without even the operations team or the HO teams really playing a big role in that. So we were more of a catalyst to help this process, but there was even the stores took it upon themselves to reach out to their customers and understanding their preferences and getting the sales done. So I think the pandemic also gave a very different understanding to the fashion retailers in terms of how much important the store staff can play, in all of these situations, and what kind of a responsibility can they pick it up and kind of work around. So quite a few interesting stories around that we had.
Great. I'll come back to the travel segment again, Swapnil and Manish. So, see, a lot of economists have kind of predicted that is going to be a recovery for travel segment, given the obvious reasons. And some, thought, some of the global consultancy firms have kind of predicted 2022 or 23 actual, when you'll see recovery. So as companies, how are you trying to accelerate? I mean, while the overall recovery may take time, how as individual companies do you think you're going to gear up or accelerate the recovery?
Sure. So for us, Shubhajit, the problem is of two kinds. On one hand, our problem is similar to what Ritesh would also be struggling with, which is a typical marketplace problem. That when the number of travelers sort of go down, and then you are in some sense dependent on the external factors for the market recovery. So what can you do there? And on the other side, it's slightly different, because there you may have lesser market, but if you're a qualitatively superior player, you will gain the market share faster. So I think we are, so that's the reason we are doing unique things on two different sides. So when it came to the marketplace side, which is where we have train and bus and food on train platform, that's where to basically intensify and allay the fear of the traveler so that they travel. I mean, if I can influence their decision to travel 30 minutes ahead of what they would have done on their own, is where a lot more products built around allaying the fear is how the approach was. So for example, our food on train service, we have built in a lot of mechanisms around how you can give in the physical aspect clarity also to the consumer who's going to order the food. Listen, the kitchen from which you are going to get the food is like this. These are the safety measures which have been put in place. So if the natural organic reaction would have been that let me start to travel but avoid order food, at least I can influence that decision. So on the marketplace side, the approach had largely been that how can we allay that fear around travel. However, on the other side, what we are doing is fundamentals, and those fundamentals are in itself helping us gain the market share quicker than otherwise. So like, I mean, the overall market recovery versus our intercity smart bus recovery are going to be very different graphs altogether. We will recover faster purely because of being a qualitatively superior player. So that's where our thought process had been more around. So for example, we created this concept of private cabins in the buses that listen, while you have a sleeper, but the sleeper can be covered also. So you go there, you cover yourself, it's hygienic before you boarded. So in some sense, it's like a small room for me, and I've closed the room and I'm not worried, right? So, that being there, or say, for example, for social distancing, telling people that instead of boarding from an open area, why don't you come to our lounge, which are pre-sanitized, which has all the social distancing related aspects implemented. Go there, sit in a safe place, do your work, reach early, and then board the bus safely from there, and do not rush into the bus as it sort of comes. So on the other side, to gain the market share, we did fundamentals, which is do everything right from the hygiene. We were always far more sanitized and far more hygienic buses. But around this time, besides implementing far many more steps, we started communicating also. And that's what is going to help us gain market share quicker than otherwise.
Shubhajit, the operational cost or the OPEX cost for running retail or any other businesses, obviously they've gone high because of, all these additional costs which have come in. But I think in the long term, that's also going to play a major role in gaining customer, trust, and ensuring that the customer kind of flocks back to you. So I think costs at this point of time, but that's how life is. You'll have to still gain the trust of all the customers to come back.
Completely agree. I think it's all about winning trust at this point in time. I'm just conscious of time. We have maybe about a couple of minutes to close. So I'll ask maybe each of you one word which defines the future of retail and the future of consumer in retail for you. One word.
Disruption.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Disruption.
I think they should look forward.
Okay.
Customer trust factor.
Okay, so I think if I summarize, we're optimistic about the future. We are very cognizant about creating the right controls, practices, processes, ensuring that execution happens. And what's very key here is you can do it 100 times right, but one time you miss it, that may cause a risk that causes irreparable damage to the brand, right? So it is about almost getting that Six Sigma business excellence in place to say that every time I have to get it right, whether it's the safety, hygiene, all these practices that all of you discussed, right? And I think literally, safety, like the words that you used at the beginning, safety, hygiene, overcoming fear, those are the factors which really will draw consumers to brands going forward. That's how I see it. Bhavesh, I'll just open it for you. So maybe we've run out of time, but if there are any one question maybe from the audience, we can take it. Otherwise, I'll ask you to take over from here.
I think, thanks, Shubhajit. There are a lot of questions, but I think let's move ahead and close this. Thank you all. Thank you very much for the interaction. It's been a very hectic day today. We've got some very good sessions, and this particular session was also very interesting. Thanks to all of you, Kunal, Swapnil, Ritesh, Manoj, and of course, Shubhajit. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.